come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India home.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is Siddhartha Vaidyanathan at Sidvi on Twitter. And I'm joined today by two regulars, Ashoka, who is at ABVan on Twitter, and Kartikeya, who is at Cricketing View on Twitter. Regular listeners will know these two gents. If you don't, you can follow their Twitter handles. I'll link Kartikeya's Substack. I'll link some relevant articles he has written about T20, the format, batting, hitting. We did a few podcasts about around the format as well. So I'll link all that. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to have you.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
We're here to talk about the recently concluded T20 World Cup in Australia. If you see the coverage in few websites and newspapers, it seems that that World Cup happened 10 years ago or something. People are already talking about IPL retentions and things. But yeah, I mean, it finished on Sunday. England were the champions, rightfully so, as some may say, because they seem to be the team that is best equipped to handle this format, and they seem to be the team that has moved on the most when it comes to playing T20. But of course, there were so many other highlights in the World Cup. We'll be talking mostly about a few, larger picture topics here, but must mention that, the fact that Ireland beat England, Zimbabwe beat Pakistan, and there was so many good performances. Netherlands beat South Africa. Yeah, I mean, it was quite a good tournament that way for upsets. Netherlands beating South Africa actually allowed Pakistan to enter the semi-finals, and eventually they also entered the finals. So
it started with an upset. Namibia beat Sri Lanka.
Correct. Namibia beat Sri Lanka. So yeah, I mean, let's start, Ashoka. Now that you're talk a bit about overall thoughts about the tournament, and then we can get into the sort of the exact more specifics.
Yeah, we'll get into the fight later, but this was a good tournament. There were a few good matches, but I still think the Asia Cup that preceded this was far more exciting. This had its moments, as we spoke. Like, there were a lot of teams that won against more established opponents. So I'm pretty annoyed that England in the end won it. It's even more annoying that they deserve to win it because they looked like the team to beat. Australia also looked like a team to beat going into this, but for some reason they were strangely nervous. And we had
they lost one match, man. They lost one match. So yeah. I don't know how we can say they were strangely nervous. But
because they needed the run rate to be that much higher for them to qualify. They didn't go, hammer and tongs. Their lineup actually allowed for it. They did. So that way they were nervous. But other than that, they were they were a good team. They are still a good team. That's a great lineup. And amazing off the field antics, fake Mr. Bean, and a 6 for the ages and all that. So this was a satisfying World Cup, though not for the Indian fan in me.
Okay, so I think Ashoka basically covered pretty much all the points that I could think of as well. I don't know. I think basically it's very noisy, and in this World Cup, in addition to the usual noise that comes from T20, you also had the rain. South Africa were, they were screwed by the rain, I thought. They should have got all the points against, I think, was Zimbabwe, and they would have got like a gazillion net run rate points if they'd got that win. They were they have 51 in 3 overs or something like that. And I think, yeah, I mean, so it was very, very noisy. And, if you look at it, every team lost at least once. There was a few games rained off. And I think in the end, I think I agree with Ashokar. The best T20 side did win. I mean, that's unusual in World Cup tournaments.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess of all of the three formats, T20 is probably the one that allows for the lesser team to win compared to, say, an ODI. The ODI in 2019, England were perhaps the best team. I mean, the very fact that New Zealand tied them in the World Cup final and went to the Super Over was I think, a tremendous reflection on New Zealand rather than England. I mean, because England playing the way they did in that World Cup in one-dayers, they were by far, I think, the team to beat. And of course, Test cricket, the best team usually ends up winning, especially over a course of a series. So, yeah, T20 that way. And also, additionally, in Australia, you have this. I mean, one can argue about how much these things matter, but, the ground sizes are generally bigger than they are in Asia or England. And so that is an added dimension, like where you score, which part of the ground you score. And obviously T20 is largely about playing the field. So then you need to decide, okay, which is the boundary I'm going for? Is it in Melbourne, you go straight. In Adelaide, you probably go square and things like that. So, and the pitches, right? And they played at Perth, where, the bowlers did have quite a bit of a say. I mean, India, South Africa was a great match to watch in that sense. You rarely get to see like T20s played on such surfaces, and to see that was good. Now, the question is, should those things matter? Like, the question is, should teams see the conditions in a T20 the way they see the conditions in a test or an ODI? Or do they just play based on the set template that they have? Now, that is a more fundamental question. What do you guys think?
I want to hear what KD says, because he says it doesn't matter. And I want to know how it doesn't matter.
I don't think the conditions vary that much in the T20 World Cup. I mean, I think generally the match that the pitches were flat in this World Cup. Even that Perth pitch, as Perth pitches go, it was a pretty flat pitch. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. There's a little bit extra bounce in Australia, but there isn't any pitch where, there's seam movement or anything like that. I mean, yeah, the new ball swings a little bit. I mean, it swings everywhere. It swings in Mohali, it swings in Chepauk, it swings in Bombay, everywhere. It swings a little bit. But that they're used to, no? I mean, it's not like there are square turners or, seamers, seaming pitches. I mean, what happens, I think, in T20 is that these tiny changes in the pitches, which in a longer format you wouldn't even notice, in T20 they get magnified. Everything gets magnified because we are used to sort of discussing these matches like, the test matches. And in a test match, things change over 5 days. The pitch changes, the conditions change, the ball gets old. There's reverse swing, there's real swing, there's seam movement, the ball goes soft. The bowler's tired, all that happens. And suddenly we pretend that all that's also happening in a 20-over innings. It doesn't. Nothing much changes over 20 overs in a cricket match. So I don't necessarily think that there is that much of a change. And that's the point, of T20, to not have that much change. If you want to watch T20, then you should at least accept that you're watching T20. I mean, why turn it into an imaginary test match in your head?
But you do agree that in the toss, it can play a difference, right? In terms of how teams approach the first innings and the second innings. Like, for instance, it's not easy to gauge what sort of how much to score and how much risks to take in a pitch like Perth, or maybe I'm thinking in the traditional cricket sense and looking at it as an ODI. But how does one approach this when the toss seems to play such a difference in this format?
it's not as though Perth is a slow-scoring T20 ground. Perth is a very fast-scoring ground compared to all other grounds in the world. So, the shots that are on at Perth are different from the shots that are on in, say, I don't know, some ground in India or some ground in England. That's true. And you're right that in some grounds the square boundary is short, and other grounds the straight boundary is short. In some grounds are some weird square shape, and some grounds are ovals, and all that's true. But none of those things are mysteries. No, I mean that's how these players decide like which boundaries to target, and that's how bowling sides decides which boundaries to defend. So I don't think any team is. I mean, India didn't like change the way they play. They went for their shots. I mean, it so happened that they didn't come off. So on another day they would come off. Yeah. So the amount of risk these players are taking is so high, and they have no choice. I mean, that's what the game is. That on the day when they come off, they're going to score 180, 200. And if it doesn't, then they'll be sort of, they'll limp to 130, 140. What is striking is that even in games where the batting doesn't come off, they still manage to score like 130, 140. I mean, how many 70 all out or 80 all outs are you seeing? I mean, you're not seeing any of them. Even when like the top order batsman, like, maybe the first or second chance they take goes to hand, teams are still getting to like 130 or 140, no?
I don't believe you said 70 all out and 80 all out and didn't say 81 all out. This is blasphemy, man. What is going on? Anyway.
No, by that logic, I think a lot of teams, the lot of hitting didn't come off this World Cup, no? I mean, we didn't see a lot of 200s. We saw 1 200, I think, maybe, or 2 200s. South Africa hit a 200. So 2 200s, that's it. A couple of 180s here, there, and then a huge cluster between your 120s to 150, 160. That's what we saw. So that might not be, consistently hitting not coming off. That might also be, a function of large boundaries. Teams are trying to take twos instead of boundaries.
No, that might be also a function of the fact that teams don't really have that many big power hitters. Like India have two, I would say, like Yadav and Pandya. Pakistan, they have a few, but like their openers take up so much of the bowling that they barely get a hit to other people. England have a few, but England have found themselves chasing a lot in this World Cup, and they chased both in the semi-final and the final, and those chases are basically dictated by the asking rate. So it's perfectly reasonable to play percentage when you're chasing. Australia, I mean, I don't know. They have Maxwell, who's I think a genius, and David. But then for some reason, when David got injured, they played Smith, which was very odd. So I felt like, normally in these World Cups, there's always like every team has somebody who can miss it the ball 80 yards. Like, Afridi, Pollard, Russell, Brathwaite, Stokes, but the circumstances just didn't arise for them to sort of, go ballistic, so to speak.
Because of these totals that you spoke about, this cluster of 120 to 160, I was often feeling that, batting first and batting second were two vastly different propositions in this World Cup. Because when you're batting second, as you said, you're chasing the asking rate. And so then your approach, and then you start playing ODIs pretty much. Then you start playing the way you would play an ODI. But when you're batting first, it's basically you have to play like this brand of go for it cricket, the T20 brand of cricket, where you're trying to hit the field, find the gaps, hit the field, trying to maximize each ball. So you're actually I felt it was a tournament where you had two different approaches for depending on what happened at the toss. I mean, it would have been totally different had it been I'm saying really flat Indian pitches where 180 or 190 was a given, then I guess, when you're chasing 190 or 200, then you have to pretty much bat. You have to go for it. You're chasing almost 10 and over then. There you have no choice but to, find those boundaries. But when you're chasing 150, 140, 150, you don't need 10 and over. You can even go at 5 and over for a while and then pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, you need basically like 3 or 4 big overs to chase 160 or 170. You need, and then the rest you have to score basically a run a ball. But where the power, the muscle really fell short. It was against spin actually. Because that's where you need like the player who can like muscle the spinner, out of the ground. That requires real power. And that very few people have. And nowadays, like these spinners are also bowling with these very, very well set fields. Like all the leg spinners are bowling with a ring on the leg side. And batsmen are not prepared to take that deep fielder on the leg side. And it was like also a tournament really, dominated by openers. The openers hogging a lot of the bowling and not letting 4, 5, 6 into the game very much. So I don't know. Maybe by the next edition, there'll be a new generation. Just today we heard that, Pollard is now even retired from IPL also now. Yeah. So that generation is going now. It's gone. And West Indies didn't even qualify. So, that team is finished. Like the team of the 2010s, which the West Indies would field with their like great players of that time. That's gone now. So the new one has not yet arrived in space.
Yeah, I get that. No, I just want to complete the thought on these on that conditions bit. So the thing is that it's when you're building like a team to play in such a tournament, whether it is UAE or Australia or something or India, I just feel that, it becomes so condition dependent where especially with this batting first and batting second that I spoke about. I mean, England did win in the end, and that team would probably win in most conditions. I mean, that conditions don't really matter for that team. But, for Pakistan to make it to the final, or for a team like, for even New Zealand and India, which are traditionally playing, the sort of a mixed variety of T20. They're playing a combination of ODIs and T20 now and then. It's hard. It becomes, I feel like, it's highly dependent on conditions on the team they play. Don't you agree?
What do you mean? I mean, see, what do we mean by change in conditions is that, do we say that the pitches offer a little more bounce and pace and then the boundaries are a bit longer? Depending on the ground, either the square boundaries are longer or the straight boundaries are longer. So is that the only difference which,
and scores in general, like the moment you have a 170 sub 170 score, then or as Kartikeya says, when you have a Kohli score, then Babar and Rizwan at the top of the order, or India's top 3 is not as much a problem when it's chasing. It's probably a problem when you're batting first more than chasing. So that's what I'm saying, right? The team you play.
No, but I think that's not to do with the conditions. No, that's to do with England has just having better players. That their game is less conditions dependent. I mean, if you take the analogy with Test cricket now, then you can see that when India didn't have great fast bowlers, they used to depend on like the pitch being spin friendly to make any headway in a test match, right? So then India were also limited by the conditions. No, what you're seeing with T20 is with a lot of these teams, the same thing is happening with them. No, their players are effective in certain types of conditions, but not all types of conditions. So the range of conditions in which they come good is narrower than with, say, a better team like England. But India, like right now, India have the same 3 out of the top 4 in the Indian lineup in that Test and T20 team is the same. New Zealand are playing Williamson in their middle order. And then they're playing, they're playing Devon Conway, who's quite good, but even he's like, really a batsman, not a hitter. So England are the only team who have like basically completely separated what they consider to be a T20 batsman and what they consider to be a batsman in like cricket, to use a term to combine Test and ODI.
No, and I think England are the only team that that go with the idea. I mean, like we discussed on that previous podcast about hitting and batting. England are the one team that go with the idea that their hitters can also bat. Like they know that Ben Stokes can bat as well as anyone else, but that he can also that if he's primarily given the task of hitting, he will hit. So India and New Zealand and all these people on the other hand are entrusting their batters to hit. England are the one team that are entrusting their hitters to bat, and I think that seems to me to be the big difference.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Actually, that England are doing that. If you need somebody to like push singles for a couple of overs, like pretty much anybody in the top 7 can do that. No, you don't really need like Kohli or Babar Azam or Kane Williamson to do that for you, right? I mean, Hardik Pandya can do that. No, I mean, even though Hardik Pandya is not as good a batsman as Kohli, there are still 5 fielders on the boundary. It's not like suddenly they're putting. There are phases in play in T20 where teams are suddenly going for 60 for 1 becomes 60 for 3, and suddenly for the next 4-5 overs you have like 3 slips and a gully and a short leg. That you don't really have that. You don't have really need like the technique to counter that at all. The worst batsman face is like, okay, you will have like some finger spinner, wrist spinner bowling, and you'll have 1 slip. That's okay. I mean, as it is, these guys are like aiming sweep shots every other ball at the spinner. So it's not really. You don't really need You don't really need like the elaborate ability of a batsman in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, when I saw couple of those Kane Williamson innings, the thing that comes to my mind is like he's wasted. Like his skills are wasted here. I mean, not because he's a bad, he's a great player. He's a great Test batsman, but none of that. The narrow skills that this format requires, or at least the games where he was batting that it required, is probably like 1/10 of his skill range that he's capable of as a player. And whether New Zealand would have been so much better off picking a hitter who can do that 1/10 bit better than Williamson is the question. And the answer is probably yes. But unfortunately, teams are yet to reach that stage of saying, these guys are. I mean, I think the best way they can say it is like these guys are too good for T20. This Kohli, Williamson, Smith, they're just too good. Don't play them. Play people who are not as good as them, but will optimize the format better.
I mean, as bad as it is for the batsmen who are wasted in T20, Williamson, Kohli, Smith, Babar and all that. It's even worse for the fast bowlers, I think, like, Rabada and Cummins and, this terrific new fast bowler Pakistan have got, Nasim Shah. They have so much ability, that they're like, flying in and hammering the middle of the pitch and bowling like full length Yorkers and stuff. And like this batsman is like not giving it any power. Like yesterday in the final, you see like, what's his name? Jos Buttler. Nasim Shah is like humming, like he's bowling, he's hitting the length and, challenging the vertical bat. This Jos Buttler is like in a test match or even in a one-day match against that bowling with a new ball. What would a batsman do? Firstly, the batsman would leave a lot of balls, right? they would just leave on off stump or on a good length outside off stump. The batsman would just leave. The Jos Buttler not even listening, man. He's like forcing shot, play and miss. And like he plays and miss 2 or 3 times. And that doesn't make him like, sit back and block or defend or anything like that. His response is to like walk across his stump and scoop the guy for 6. It's like,
so that's a
waste of being.
That's actually a great example that you brought on, because that has been doing the rounds also with our friend Abhinav Mukund posting a long thread about exactly that and the mindset required and all that. But for me, it's when I watched that over, it was a brilliant over. And as you say that, in a test match, Nasim Shah would have had like 3 slips. The sort of the whole dynamic of that over would have been so different. But the way I looked at it is, the moment they put a slip, Jos Buttler saw that, okay, fine leg is free. So all he was waiting for was that length to scoop. The moment he got that length, which was a perfect length for, outside off, if Buttler was playing that push, it was a perfect length for that. And in a test match, he would have probably played that and he would have edged and gone and would have probably gone. But in a T20, when he saw that length, he saw the empty the field there, he went for it. That, for me, that was like, it wasn't as extraordinary as it was logical.
No, actually, what you need to do, if anything, he should have tried some, charging down the pitch on the balls that he was trying to defend also, because he got out edged also in that innings. He didn't need to do that. He could have just, charged down or made room and tried to uppercut and get some runs. That's what he should have been trying to do, because that is more understandable than what he was trying to do. Bat proper, because that was never the plan for England.
I don't think he was trying to bat proper. I think he was trying to force the ball through the offside gap, because they put a slip, the gap was bigger. And so he was trying to hit balls which you would normally not force through the offside. He didn't connect anything. I don't remember exactly, but I think he played and missed like 3 or 4 times in that over, But that doesn't stop him, no? In a test match, it would stop him. He plays and miss once in the test match, he'd like leave the next ball. Here is not leaving anything. He just keeps going for it. See, I know one of the things you notice in this World Cup is that among these players who are playing the field, like Buttler and Surya Kumar Yadav, and they have these distinctive shots. Like, Jos Buttler rarely runs down the pitch with a fast bowler. He's sort of much more prone to like backing away to leg and slapping through the offside, or walking across his stumps and hitting into the leg side. Whereas if it's a full length, then he'll loft over extra cover. But Surya Kumar Yadav is much more prone to like opening the face and lofting over square point or something like that. So these players are like, you can see that they've cultivated different kinds of shots and they eye different undefended boundaries. Whereas the other players like Kohli and stuff who play the line and length, they have like basically 1 or 2 get out of jail shots. Like Kohli is like aims over extra cover. That's his shot against the fast bowler. Against the spinner, he's either going to pull or he's going to square cut. But if those boundaries are defended, then he'll hit it anyway and he'll try to get 2. But he doesn't cultivate like the, if you have deep mid wicket and deep point, then you have fine leg up. And then what can you do? Can you like walk across your stumps and pad your feet or something like that? He doesn't sort of cultivate those things.
Yeah, because I guess it boils down, it's in a reverse way, it is muscle memory, no? Because, ultimately, if all these players, all these great batters who have come through, years and years of age group cricket, first class cricket, test cricket, and then they become great test players. Ultimately their muscle memory of this will kick in. They will keep playing. They will tend to play like they're playing in a test or in an ODI, how much ever they want to play differently. It's easy to say, you have to change your mindset. But at the end of the day, the batter has like that millisecond to react to the ball, man. And suddenly your muscle, eventually a lot of cricket is muscle memory. And the muscle memory for many of these players is to play that conventional way. Many of these hitters, like the really good hitters, whether it's, Maxwell or any of them, it's not like the sort of the strokes they play is always premeditated. A lot of the stuff they play happens in that millisecond. So the Butler or Maxwell or Russell or Pollard or whoever else you're talking about, who is the great hitter, is making that hitting decision right at the end. So, but Kohli and others, on the other hand, if they have to walk across the stumps and scoop, will probably have to make that decision a little earlier, because that is the difference, where you have that one, you have something that you need to do, and the other is something that you just do. So that makes a huge difference when it comes to T20.
See, also, your multi-format cricketers, it's one thing to say that they have to learn new tricks. It screws with their setup for test.
It screws with their old tricks.
Yeah, and it's not worth it, no? So what... It's not worth, taking out their entire setup. That's like saying that, let's say Pujara plays List A and T20 and God forbid IPL. And he learns a certain tricks to score, a lot of runs in IPL at a very quick rate. There is no saying that won't impact his test setup, where the priorities and, are completely different. So there are certain things that players choose. And players like Kohli,
why are you going to Pujara, man? I think, and conjecture that KL Rahul's getting better as a test bat has had an effect in the way he plays T20s. Like if you look at KL Rahul over the years, the way he has played T20s and the way he's playing T20 now, I feel that a lot of his test cricket muscle memory is kicking in here, where he's become a good test bat. He opens for India whenever he's available. But I feel that it has had a knock-on effect on his T20 game.
Do you want to get your licks in against Rohit Sharma right now? Now that Sidvi has brought up the issue of the Indian openers.
What is there to bring up and what is there to say? They have failed more than Kohli, and you're the only person who is not accepting it. You're the one guy who's standing against the world and saying Kohli is the main culprit.
No, I think, first of all, since Mahesh is not there, I think we can go all out against Rohit Sharma. Since there is not even, his biggest fan is not even present on this podcast. So I think there itself we have great license. But see, look, I get Kartikeya's point, all right? I get where he's coming from when he says KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma, at least. If you see just the final, he was not able to connect, man. This is the fundamental problem that these very, very good batters, and in Rohit Sharma's case, like exceptional batter, has in this format. Like the moment you're trying to hit and you're not connecting, you have only two options. One is you just keep trying, and then in the process you end up wasting quite a few balls, or you retire out. But it's not easy for players of this stature to retire out. It's almost like they're giving up. And they can't do that. Maybe eventually in this format, 10 years down the line, you may have a system where, a team is filled with people who are like, okay, I'm not connecting for 6 balls. I'm going. Let the next guy come in. That's a different kind of order of things.
What 10 years? Ashwin Anna has done it last year only.
Yeah, but that's the difference between Ashwin and Rohit Sharma. No, like Ashwin is not like a great enough batter who has gone through his entire career trying to get that ball in the middle of the bat, despite the struggles, as much as Rohit Sharma has. Rohit Sharma, like for a player like Kohli or Rohit or Babar to, sort of give up is not in their DNA, man. That's not what makes them great.
Also, these are problems that are beyond cricket. Like, how would it look if the Indian cricket captain walks out, retired out and all that? So,
yeah, imagine in the World Cup semi-final, Indian captain after 10 balls says, okay, I'm not connecting. I want Surya Kumar to come and hit as much as he can. I mean, imagine the optics of that, first of all. And secondly, see, so I understand that point. And I also understand Kartikeya's general point that overall, if you look at the overall record, Rohit and Rahul get out earlier, even though, they may not score. And intuitively, getting out earlier is also a good thing in T20 because you're getting out of the way for the others to come. While Kohli, on the other hand, he has argued that, is there for so long, but is not maximizing that stay as much as he can. So I understand that point. But KD, you must agree that at the end of the day, when you have batting till 7, there is only like that. It's that the way Kohli bats is the way Kohli bats, man. It's not like England or some other team where you can basically say, okay, we are batting till 11, we are going. So this is the problem. No, this is the real-time problem. I can understand you saying put batting till 11. But India don't have that option as of now. What after 7, 8? What they have nobody.
No, actually, the problem is that Kohli is going to be part of the tournament before you entered the tournament. It was not a surprise. He didn't just say surprise and then started batting, right? So that Kohli is going to be number 3, and therefore your number 1 and 2 are going to have to compensate for it, right? Like that guy is not going to change his batting style, so you have to work around him. Now you're going to say, no, we are also going to do the same thing. Then your top 3 is chewing up 85, 90 balls, right? And now Surya Kumar Yadav has to do all kinds of gymnastics to take the total to 170. Because see, among all the matches India played, the one that angered me most was against Netherlands. You have lost only 2 wickets, but you made 179. What the hell is that? That's like 220 for 2 in ODI or 240 for 2 in an ODI. That is like the egregious waste of resources, right? If it was like 180 for 7, at least it's understandable. But 179 for 2 meant that your top 3, did a lot of time passing. Because in that match, I think Surya Kumar Yadav hit a 50 of 25 balls. That guy is going at 200. So the rest of the people have scored at 130 some strike rate, which is terrible. And this is not, even those, people who admire bowling, and all due respect to Netherlands, they are not the monsters that you guys think they are. So you can hit. So that's what gets the goat of all those people who watch this World Cup. Like, okay, I get it. Kohli goes at 120 till he faces 25 balls. After that, like, he goes up. But that already. That's not a mystery to you. So why can't you, either Rohit Sharma or KL Rahul, make that conscious effort, or bite the bullet and put that boy Rishabh Pant at number 2? Let him swing for some time. No, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. No, but I'll tell you something. Like, I'll give you an example, right? And this is the difference between playing the line and length and playing the field. So, Ricky Ponting, he once described how he bats, right? And he has this very pronounced forward movement when he bats. And he said, well, I have a part of the pitch that I am looking at when I am facing up. And he says, if the ball is in that area of the pitch, I respect it and I defend it. If it's not, then a few of my attacking shots are on. That's like classic playing line and length. That's what all batsmen are doing. So that's why they play like a lovely cover drive straight to cover's hand. You will see so many of these batsmen in T20, like they're playing the cover drive and it goes straight to cover, or and the cover is sitting deep on the 30-yard circle, and it's really hard to beat that cover fielder. Whereas that cover drive is intended to beat like an attacking cover fielder. That's why in the test match, the cover drive goes so often, because the cover is not there to save the cover drive, in the 30 yards away. The cover is there much closer. Whereas that's a shot like to a line and length. That's a batsman's shot. Whereas what is Surya Kumar Yadav and Jos Buttler and all these people are doing is that they look at the field, they look at which boundaries are being defended, and they gauge like what lines and lengths the bowler is likely to bowl, and whether the change-up is on or whether that. And they have all this in their mind, and they have some ideas about what shots are on for them. And that's why their setup is designed to help them play those shots, not like to play the line and length. So that's the difference between what Ponting described as like the classic batsman's approach and what playing the field means. And it's really hard to do that. Like Rohit Sharma and all these people are not as good at it as like Buttler and Yadav and all these people are. Or Maxwell, for instance. And like some of them also combine, like not just with, like they have a terrific eye and they have like cultivated all these shots, like where they can target all these boundaries, and like some of them are like outrageous, like Maxwell can like switch hit to extra cover, right? And that's just ridiculous. But they combine that with like tremendous power. Like Maxwell can also hit like the ball really hard. So those are like that's there won't be that many players in the world with that kind of T20 skill set. So one of the things that I've sort of started to understand in this World Cup and during this year, in fact, is like what is an elite T20 player on the batting side, and this is sort of, I think, these are the pieces that an elite T20 player on the batting side has. That they have they've cultivated all these shots and they can play them. And you won't find them like smashing the ball to cover and watching as like cover fields it. It just won't happen because they know that fielder is there to defend the ball, and if they want to beat that fielder, they have to hit above. They have to loft it over him. Whereas the batsman is always going to sort of try to beat covers left hand, and that's like when the fielder is 30 yards away. That's really a low percentage proposition.
Yeah, and also, fine point. And with the field, it's also like, see, in Test cricket, you basically have like the standard fields that teams set. It's not like you're suddenly on the first morning of a Test match, you're looking to hit to fine leg for 4. It's not like you're trying to scoop that ball to fine leg for 4 because there are enough gaps for you to hit right in front of you. Occasionally these days when you bowl short, players do play that ramp shot and go over the keeper and slips and all. That is one way they've figured out how to score. That's fine. But, there's so many gaps there for you to play your conventional shots, as you would call it. And the second thing is that I think, the way you would coach like a batter, like, when a young batter, if you're coaching them for Test cricket, the way you would coach them in terms of getting into position, playing reading the length early, as we say, this batter has so much time to pick the ball, say Rohit Sharma or Shubman Gill or whoever. That is basically what it's like, they get into such a good position early on that then they are in a situation where they can play 2 or 3 shots depending on, the length. And if it's a short ball, they have those options. And if it's a full ball, they have. In T20, on the other hand, when you're playing the field, the positions you're getting into are different compared to the positions you would get into in like a Test match. So like Surya Kumar Yadav, moving completely across the stumps to hit that wide-ish ball to fine leg. Looks like an extraordinary shot, fair enough. But the decisions he's making before that are vastly different to the decisions that, say, a great Test batter is making, like a Williamson is making before he is playing a shot. So I think that level of decision making is also very important at this level.
Well, and there's also a difference in the risk. Ponting's game in a Test match is designed to sort of help him survive about 90 balls per dismissal, whereas these guys are taking risks where they know they're going to get out once every 20-25 balls.
Yeah, and that they have to do it, because if they don't, then they're going to be pushing for singles, which is going to be bad for their team. So they might as well take the risk, and even if it means getting out, they might as well do that rather than waste 1 over and get 8 runs of it or 6 runs of it or whatever.
See, I am not very confident about all this, newfound enlightenment about intent and all that, because This is what we have been telling the last 1 year, that we have like players should play with more intent, whatnot. And then now, post India's exit, a lot of people are now talking about the way to go about in T20 is to hit and not, plod around for singles and twos. All that is very, I mean, good when you talk. But the moment you take that risk, it also comes with the risk of dismissal, and the team is going to get out for 80s and 120s a couple of times, and suddenly there will be an overcorrection of towards the old ways of conserving wicket and playing the condition, getting your eye in, and all that. So the test that England has, the gauntlet that England has put before the world is that, do you have the guts to fail a lot with this approach? And initially, because once the batsmen have a hang of taking risk consistently, then that there is a method behind it. They are not wildly swinging like a lay person. They are picking their areas, they are hitting it. But to get to that place, your team will have to, have a couple of failures, or a series or two will be on the line, or some important match will be on the line, and then everybody will lose their minds, and then they'll go back to the let's conserve a little bit, let's hit the last 10 overs. So that is the test. That is actually where you will know whether this team has crossed that barrier. Till then, it's all talk.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I completely agree with that. But it's not really a test of mindset or guts. It's a test of skill. You have to have the players who are capable of doing that. I mean, England, look at the players they've picked. Phil Salt and Harry Brook. These are not players who are getting anywhere near the test team. But they are really good at picking their spot, and they're really good at they have cultivated all these shots where they can hit over extra cover, and they can hit over mid wicket, and they can hit over third man and over fine leg, and etc. etc. They can hit the ball very far, very hard. I mean, it's a question of finding those skills, and what you're seeing is that most batsmen, actually, I would say, if you leave aside AB de Villiers, I can't think of a second batsman who has managed to cultivate those skills. Okay, Peterson would be an example of a player who comes close. Maybe Graham Hick, they used to say that in the early days of T20, he was like a monster player. But, that was like an ancient history in T20 now. But
wait, this is England, Graham Hick.
Yeah. He played some few years of T20. Yeah.
Really? He must have been like 60, 70 by the time T20 happened, man. What the hell?
Yeah. He was probably. But Warner, what about Warner, KD? Or you don't agree with Warner?
No, I think even Maxwell is there in that bracket of AB de Villiers and Peterson.
Yeah, David Warner and Quinton de Kock are like two players who are successful test careers, who also simultaneously had ODI, T20 ability. But Warner is also like an unorthodox test player. No, I mean, he started out in T20 and then made it to the test team, which in like 2008, 2009, 2010 was pretty rare.
Yeah, he was among the first for that journey. Yeah.
In continuation of what we were talking about, like people who had like 160 strike rate, like they may not have had the success. Like let's say New Zealand's opener, that Finn Allen, that one innings was great, but even after that, he kept hitting. It just didn't come off in the rest of the matches. He just kept hitting. He didn't block at all, right? Even Glenn Phillips was like that. He was hitting at 150, 160. Maxwell was hitting at 160. Quinton de Kock was hitting at 160. Riley Russo at 160. Once it came off, he hit 100 against Bangladesh. Then he got out first ball or second ball at 0. But they're very committed to that approach, even if it is 0 of 2 balls or 100 of 40 balls. So those players stand out in this World Cup than all the people who made runs at 130 strike rate, 135 strike rate. You actually know what has happened there. They are just timing the ball into the outfield, getting a two here, or taking the single, or marking the balls when they can hit the shots that is in within their wheelhouse.
No, that's right. I mean, I totally agree. And, the teams that have the players that have this skill over time, you see that they succeed. Like, sure, in a World Cup, I mean, it would have been interesting actually to see England bat first in either the semi-final or the final, because it would have been nice to see, how they approach it and whether they go the same way as they have been doing, whether they're going all out, whether by chance, it didn't come off one of the days and they get all out for a low score. All that would have been interesting. But I think eventually these teams realize, I mean, see, England have been playing this way for a while. And I think they realize that over the long run, over 5 years, over 2, 3, 4 World Cups, sure, they'll lose something along the way. They'll go out sometime, but they will eventually get success. No, like since 2015, when they changed their approach, if you see, they were like one good ball away from winning that 2016 World Cup. They were, 2019 ODIs, which also they've been playing in a different level. They won. I mean, if you can say they tied, but okay, they eventually won. Then that last year's World Cup in the UAE, they entered the semi-final, and come on, they were like very, very close to winning that semi-final. And, these guys, this Mitchell and Neesham went bonkers right at the end. So that is another World Cup where they could have entered the final. And then they won this. So in the long run, they are seeing the results of it. No, that is the difference between looking at one game at a time and looking at an era.
Right. I don't disagree. I'm saying that, India is not that far behind. India enters the knockouts at, regular pace. I mean, they can why England's record of going into the knockouts, because they too have done this over a period of time. It is just that at certain points, self-preservation kicks in. And that is because India have a problem of, they don't have cricketing problem. The problem stems from non-cricketing reasons, which is they have expensive toys. BCCI has expensive toys like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Bumrah. These are expensive toys which have to be brought out for ticket sales to happen, for a lot of eyeballs to come in. So they have to share these resources across all formats, right? And that's how the money comes in. And the problem is these players might not be suited for the formats of T20 or let's say T10 if that becomes popular next. But BCCI has no other option than to take the premium talent and put it there. So that is the problem. It's not that our country has a shortage of people.
No. But it's not that. It's not that. It's also, see, India has entered the semi-finals and all. I agree with that aspect of it. But I don't think they are approaching the game the way England are approaching it. Like, I don't think that they are playing for ODIs. They are a very good team. I mean, this very team, if you put this exact 11 that played in the semi-final in a ODI, they would probably win really, quite often. I mean, they have a solid top three. They have, this top three can get them 235 overs, man. And then you have all these players to come to play the last 15. That's all totally fine. But I think in T20, apart from that West Indies series and maybe a few series here and there, they have not really shown that approach of going all up. See, that is the thing. I mean, when Rohit Sharma when he was appointed captain, and then when that West Indies tour happened, we thought, okay, finally India are playing the way you expect to play T20s, or the way England have been playing T20s. But then they went back. No, I mean, whether it was because of the conditions or whether it was for whatever reason.
I say that is because of Sai Baba watching it from heaven. So
that is okay. You have to explain what that is, by the way.
Yeah. For people who are not familiar with it, during one or two such Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul failures, apparently Prithvi Shaw put out an Instagram post with Sai Baba photo saying, "Sai Baba, hope you're watching all of this." So the implication being that he felt that he must have been there. So from there comes the sentence.
I think that is the infuriating bit for many Indian fans, because see, it's not like, India are a team that doesn't have this talent, right? I think what many of these Indian fans feel is that when you have a Prithvi Shaw, Ishan Kishan, Sanju Samson, all these guys sitting back home, why are you not using them? And why are you using these like top three who are now basically like, getting not able to get out of their shell or are not even able to move out of the way. So that is, I think, the issue here.
But you see, I think one important distinction between ODIs and T20, and this is where there's a big difference, is that in ODIs, for 40 overs, you get to play with only 4 fielders on the boundary. So the short range and the shot and the range of shots which prove to be productive with 5 fielders in the circle is different from the range of shots which prove to be productive with 5 fielders outside the circle. Because with only 4 fielders on the boundary, it means that you can at the most defend 4 boundaries, and whereas in T20 you can defend 5 boundaries. So that's a big difference between tests and ODIs. And India.
I mean,
really,
ODIs
really
and
good
T20s.
ODIs, and I think
ODIs and T20s.
ODIs and T20s, and India are really, really good at ODIs.
I want to touch upon this bowling a bit, and one point that came up in the final, right? I mean, this Pakistan, defended a low score. I mean, and they did it. They did a really good, came up with a really good bowling effort. England would have normally probably won that much easier, but it got till the end. And England were probably going to win it in the end with their depth and all. But what do you make of this bowling? Like, how do you judge this bowling performance in a World Cup? I mean, when you look at it through the lens of Test cricket and ODIs, it's a spectacular bowling performance, and it looks great. And pace, and Pakistan have such a varied attack. Nasim Shah, Shaheen, of course, got injured. But, the Rauf, all of them, I mean, they seem to be so good. But from a T20 point of view, can we say it was a great bowling performance? Or can we say that these are great T20 bowlers? Or we basically just don't know, because, it's so dependent on what the batters are doing against. Karthikeya, you can probably go, because you have. I remember you in one tweet you said something about that ball that Shaheen Afridi bowled to Alex Hales, I think it was, which he got him bowled. And from a traditional perspective, it looks like a great ball. But you were saying no, it is nothing. It's not a great ball.
I mean, look at what Hales is doing. No, he's not playing forward or back or anything. He's trying to force it to the offside, and that he's decided that he's going to do that. So it's premeditation from Hales. And then when it swings, he has no line of defense. I mean, he's not giving himself a line of defense. So, what starts out as a forcing shot into the offside becomes a swipe, and he misses it, and it looks really ugly. But look, these bowlers have got really like solid raw material, which is what makes them such very good bowlers. Like Nasim Shah is the other two are they're good bowlers. I think Shaheen Afridi and Rauf, they're good bowlers. But I think Nasim Shah is like a really, I won't say he's like a Pat Cummins level, but I think he could be Pat Cummins level, or Rawada level, or Bumrah level, that quality of that bowler. He could be that, So
yeah, I mean, he was very good against Australia in the Test series also. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So that's true, but it doesn't seem to matter. No, I mean, what good is it? I mean, okay, on the margins, it's probably a bit harder to hit against Nasim Shah, but they're still going to try, no? And he hasn't got the runs to defend. So it's like the marginal utility of playing Nasim Shah is like trivial, I think. You're better off like playing like a David Billy type player, who's not as good, definitely not as good a bowler as Nasim Shah, but who will give you runs with the bat. So net his offer is better than Nasim Shah's in a T20, I think. Sure.
No, I mean the argument is that the argument is India made close to 170 and lost in 16 overs. Had Pakistan made close to 170, they would have probably won the final. I mean, of course, totally different conditions and all. But do you agree with that?
I doubt it. I mean, I think that these are not. I mean, I don't. These are not like a few chances. This is a question of a few chances coming off and a few chances not coming off. That's the difference between 180 and 130. It's not. I don't think it's got to do with the conditions. I know people say like, "Oh, Perth was a spicy pitch." I don't think it was a spicy pitch. I think it was, as Perth pitches go, it was pretty flat. There's no seam movement. So, I think these scores are like a function of like how lucky the batsmen are on the day, and that there's a certain range to that good fortune. Whether one or two of the top six come off, that's usually seems to be the model number of players in the top six who come off. So I don't look. There are better bowlers and there are worse bowlers, but the thing is, in T20 it doesn't seem to matter, because the batsmen don't care, and if the batsmen care, then if the batsmen are the type to play the line and the length, then it still doesn't matter, because you still have these very deep set fields, where you're still defending 5 boundaries.
But doesn't the record show that if you get like a certain number of wickets in the power play, that it is teams invariably win, or some sort of, isn't there like something to show that wickets are important in T20?
Yeah, but it's not like, I mean, India getting wickets as well. In England, I mean, in 2022, these Indian bowlers have got a lot of wickets.
So the wickets are not reflective of the potency of the bowling, but on the chances not coming off of the batting.
Yeah, and mostly that's the case. No, it's not like these players are like, it's not like these bowlers are bowling to 3 slips, and trying to beat the bat. That's not on. No, they're not bowling to get wickets. They're bowling to prevent boundaries.
No, but when you're defending 138, you are bowling to get wickets, right? I mean and then you're going for runs because you're going to get wickets. Like India, for instance, for all the. I mean, to be fair to them, the reason why England scored those runs in 16 overs is because India were bowling those lengths to get wickets. Unfortunately, they didn't get it. But on another day, England might not have scored in 16 overs if you're bowled in a different way. But the intent causes the result very often.
Yeah, but I mean, Alex Hales, if he's coming off the way he was that day, yeah, there's not much you can do. It's his day, and let's face it, Buttler and Hales are better openers than India got. Actually.
Oh, that was a stark contrast to see after watching the Indian batting. To see Buttler and Hales was so stark. I mean, the fact is that they are trying to chip over the infield so obviously, and they're trying to go aerial at every opportunity, while India with these traditional batters are trying to find the gaps and bisect the field. It's a totally different game, man.
But having said all that, I still feel Chahal should have been bowling instead of
you're part of the Chahal army.
Yeah, Chahal army, man. My boy got bodied for wrong reasons.
I can't believe it. Ashoka has just thrown Ashwin under the bus.
I said instead of Aksar. I didn't say instead of Ashwin.
Ashoka, haven't you seen enough RCB games to know that Chahal can go for 50 runs in 4 overs also?
That is in that Matchbox Chinnaswamy Stadium, man. Come to Melbourne.
Hello. The match was in Adelaide. And the square boundaries in Adelaide are, it's basically the square boundaries in Adelaide are, which is the Melbourne, the square boundaries are long. Yeah, Adelaide, the square boundaries are much shorter. So a leg spinner gets his length wrong in Adelaide, he's finished. So I don't really, okay, it might have made a difference. And people are pointing to Adil Rashid and all. But Adil Rashid is He's terrific, man, in T20s. I mean, and ODIs as well.
So is Chal, man. You guys don't give him a chance. You guys don't give my boy Rishabh Pant a chance. Chumba, you got him for 4 balls. To play 4 balls, he went to a World Cup. What is this nonsense?
Who? Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant should have opened, man. I don't know what is wrong with these guys. I would have opened with Rishabh Pant from straight starting with West Indies series, and I would have kept him as an opener throughout till the World Cup. But now it looks like who knows. And then Dinesh Karthik also, poor fellow, went all the way and hardly didn't play in that semi also. So
yeah.
Anyway, but the moment of the tournament, we have to agree, is that Liam Livingstone bowling those balls outside off stump and Rohit Sharma like coming up with like easy leaves to that ball. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's what I was telling. And these guys are saying that he tried to hit and it didn't come off. He was not trying to hit at all, man. What is this nonsense?
No. He was trying to hit. I think he thought that's a wide. But unfortunately, Liam Livingstone was bowling like those. At a nice length, he was getting the ball. But it was just funny more than anything.
All this Ashwin level intelligence, you should leave with Ashwin only. Judging a wide and all that. You should not try to do it. You should try to hit.
Yeah. Anyway, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, disappointed. As I said, England winning anything is a disappointment. But what can we do? They are actually the best team in the format so far. So
anyway, so thank you for this. We touched upon, as I said, we didn't touch upon every single game and moment, but it was good to just talk about the larger picture and where the format is headed. I think that's important, and over the next few months and years, we may see sort of the development of the format. I think it was Siddharth Munga who wrote in Cricinfo that, England winning may actually spur other teams to move in that same direction in terms of their type of cricketers they pick, the multi-dimensional players who can, England are like the perfectly designed team. I mean, with pace and all-rounders and spin, and you have players like Stokes and Moeen, and who can play in multiple gears. You have Buttler and Hales, two of the most awesome opening pair. You have everything basically in that team. So yeah, maybe other teams will look to build towards that, though whether they will find the same level of skill, we have to wait and see. Usual reminder, Cricket Beyond the Bazaar by Mike Coward and War Minus the Shooting by Mike Marquesi have both been republished by 81 All Out. I'll put the link to both the books, both the classic works. Please pick it up and support us in our journey towards, bringing back old cricket classics. You can also, subscribe to our podcast. Please review our podcast if you like it. It helps more people find us. 81allout.com is our website, and we are on Twitter at 81allout. Thanks a lot for joining, and we'll see you soon for another episode, maybe in a week or 10 days. Thanks, Ashoka. Thanks, Kartikeya.
yeah, bye-bye.
India have won the series. They're going to get back for 2. India home. Lords goes wide.